my dear students. Welcome to your next unit, Bailment and Pledge. Now let's start up with the first one, which are the last section which we had done in unit 1 was your section 147. Now section 148, what exactly is bailment? Yes, what is bailment? It is delivery of goods, you know that, for a particular purpose. Once the purpose is served, either the same goods will be returned back or the same goods will be disposed of as per the directions of the person delivering the goods. Basically, the person who is delivering the goods is a bailer. So either the goods will be returned back or they will be disposed of as per the directions of the bailer. Now this last part now students get confused. Yes, and we'll be taking examples so that it's very clear in your mind. First of all, everyone knows that in bailment there are two parties. Bailer, the person who is delivering the goods, and bailee, the person to whom the goods are delivered. Before I tell you loads and loads of examples, yes, I'm gonna tell you what are the essentials. First, as you can see, the definition is given. It's there in your textbook. Definition is given. Now, what are the essentials of bailment? So if ever you get confused whether something is bailment or not, please apply the essentials. First one, bailment should be for movable goods, and when I talk about goods, bacha, it should be as per Sale of Goods Act, right? Any movable goods or any movable asset except money and actionable claims, including shares in stock and so on. So it should be for movable goods only. Second, obviously, bacha, there is no transfer of ownership, but there is definitely transfer of possession. When I say possession is transferred, means he should be able to do either of these three things: work on the goods, or use the goods, or in certain exceptional cases he should be able to sell the goods. That's the third one. Fourth one, there should be particular purpose or there should be particular period. And lastly, bacha, fifth one, the same goods either should be returned back or they will be disposed of as per the directions of the bailer. Okay, so I've jotted down all the essentials. Let's understand one by one with lots of examples. Examples are basically your forms of bailment. Bacha, when you give something for repair, it is bailment. So in that case, see, if I am giving my car for repairs, movable goods, I am not transferring ownership. The mechanic is able to work on my car. It's for a particular purpose. Once that is over, I'll get the same car back. So whenever you give any movable goods for repairs, it can be mixer grinder, car, anything, it will be treated as bailment. Or second one, when you give anything on hire, you know, when we go out station, we take a car on hire. Car. For 10 days, I took a car on hire. Again, it is movable goods. I don't get the ownership, but I do get the possession. I'm going to use this car. It's for a particular purpose or period, and that is over. I will return of the same car. So when you take something on hire or when you give something on hire, that is also treated as bailment. Then, as you know, bacha, bailment can be gratuitous also. That means without consideration is also okay. Yes, it was an exception to no consideration, no contract, section 25. So, if let's say my friend is absent in the lecture, so in that case, if I give my book to my friend for 2-3 days, she is going to copy the notes and after that she is going to return the book back. But I am not charging her, it's valid, it's gratuitous bailment. Fourth one, goods given as carriage. I can say transportation or I can say example, courier. So let's say I am parceling some books from Mumbai to Kolkata. Now in that case, I've written the address on that, Mr. Sushant Bose. So here in this particular case, I've written the address. I give this parcel to the courier company, it's movable goods. I don't transfer the ownership, but I do transfer the possession. They're going to work on my parcel by delivering it from one place to another. it is for a particular purpose, that is transportation, and once that is over, the goods are returned back, not to me, but they are disposed of as per the directions of the bailer. That means whatever address I have put, he will be delivering it on that address. If he is not available at home, it will be returned back to me. So either it will be returned back to me or it will be disposed of as per my directions. So when you give carriage or goods for carriage, it is amounting to bailment. Fifth one, finder of goods. But in a way, finder of goods is also bailment only. Yes, he gets the goods. He is going to take care of the goods till the owner is found, and once the owner is found, he is going to return it back. So finder of goods is bailment. Sixth one, goods given as security. In simple words, pledge. Bacha, if I am pledging my gold chain with the jeweler, jeweler is going to keep the chain till I repay the loan. Once the loan is repaid, he is going to return the same chain back. Of course, if I don't repay the loan, he is going to sell it. That means he can sell the goods. See, in this case, he can sell the goods. So chain is goods, no transfer of ownership, but I do transfer the possession. He can sell it if I don't pay the loan. Nextly, it is for a particular purpose, that is security, and after that the same chain will be returned back. So when you give goods as security, it is also amounting to bailment. And last one, bailment for bailer's purpose. Bailment for bailer's purpose, here students get confused. I will just tell you one thing, bacha, very simple thing, that anything which is satisfying the essentials of bailment but not coming in first 6 forms of bailment will come in the last one. It's like your etc. type point. So the residual point. Example, A sold goods to B, and in that case B becomes the owner of the goods and B is going to pay 1 lakh for these goods. Now in this case, B should take the goods to his warehouse, but B tells A, so you keep the goods in your warehouse, I'll pay you for that, and I will sell these goods sitting in my office, but you just deliver these goods to my customers, I will pay you for that as well. So this bailment has happened for serving B's purpose. B is here the bailer, so it is bailment for bailer's purpose. So these were your forms and essentials. 2-3 crucial points which I want to tell you. Placing of ornaments in bank locker does not amount to bailment. There is a difference between change in custody and possession. Possession, when I say you give the possession, means control is given to the opposite person. When I say custody is transferred, means just physically the goods are kept there, but the control is still with you. So when I place my ornaments in the bank locker, bank does not get the possession, and hence placing of ornaments in bank locker does not amount to bailment. It is merely change in custody. Or if I park my car in a parking lot of a mall, again I do not give the car's possession to the mall authorities, so this does not amount to bailment. But I don't know if you have heard about this valet parking. You know, you give your car keys and he's the one who's going to park your car and he's going to give you a chit. Yes. So bacha, when you give your car for valet parking, this definitely amounts to bailment, because when you give your car keys, you are doing symbolic delivery. That means you are voluntarily transferring the possession. So this amounts to bailment. Then if I had 10,000 rupees cash, I kept the cash in the bank account. After some time, I withdrew it. This does not amount to bailment. 2 reasons. Money is not goods. And secondly, bacha, when I withdraw money, it will not be the same currency note. It will be similar currency notes. This is your form of bailment. Now, let us see what are the duties. But before that, see this. It's given in your textbook. Contract, movable goods, no transfer of ownership, but there is transfer of possession. Depositing money in bank account is not bailment. Placing ornaments in bank locker is not bailment. You have done all this. Same goods will be returned back. Forms, we saw all 7. You know 2 types, gratuitous, non-gratuitous. Now coming to duties of bailer and rights of bailer. So I'm going to see duties of bailer. which are obviously rights of bailee. One person's duty is obviously other person's rights. So we are gonna see duties of both. Duties of bailer we shall see, and we shall see duties of bailee. Okay. So if I am delivering the car to the mechanic for repairs, what is my duty? To disclose the faults in the goods. Then if he has incurred any extraordinary expenses, I'll have to pay him that. Then again, if any loss bailee has incurred because of me or my goods, I'll have to pay him that. Then bailment is gratuitous. Then I will have to pay him the expenses which he has incurred on the goods. You know, this my friend took my book. Now my book was in a very bad state, all different pages. So my friend, a good person by heart, he took my book, he got it bound. That means he did that binding and he spent 100 rupees on that book. So now I'll have to pay him that 100 rupees. I can't say who told you to act smart. No, I'll have to pay him 100 rupees. Then whatever expenses he incurs in case of keeping the goods, I'll have to pay him that for whatever expenses he has incurred. Honestly speaking, point number 2, 3, 4 are very similar. Basically, you have to give them expenses. You have to give him expenses. And for returning the goods also, if he has incurred any expense, you'll have to give. So for example, I tell that mechanic that don't give me the car, give this car to my cousin who stays somewhere else. So he will have to undergo that inconvenience because of me. So now whatever expenses he incurs, I'll have to give him that. And you know, gratuitous bailment can be terminated even before the expiry of time. So if I give my car to my friend for free, yes, it's okay, you use it. His family is coming from his native place. So I'm telling him, you take the car, 10 days, you keep it. No problem, don't pay me. Now, after 3 days, if there is some medical emergency in my house, I need the car as soon as possible. So I terminate the bailment and I tell my friend, I'm taking the car back. He has to give me this car back, but whatever expenses or loss he has incurred because of my premature termination of bailment, that I will have to pay him. And lastly, once he gives me the goods, I'll have to accept the goods. These are the duties of bailer, which are obviously rights of the bailee. So we shall see rights, claim compensation, expenses, etc. Of course, if I don't pay the mechanic the repair charges which I promised, he can have right of lien. And 6th point, 7th point and 8th point, these three, 6, 7, 8. I'm clubbing it up and I'm taking one example. Now there is one car which A is giving B, okay, but X says this car is mine. A says this car is his, but X says this car is mine. So B, in this case, when he takes the car, X does not allow him to use the car. So X tries to, he is stopping B from using the car or taking the possession of the car. So in this particular case, if some person wrongfully stops you from using the goods, then this bailee has whatever rights owner has. Whatever rights A has, even bailee will have. So B can sue X. And if B sues X and if B wins the case, and if any compensation X pays to this B, this compensation will be shared by A and B both, because A will say, ki boss, these goods are mine. So whatever compensation you have made or you have earned, you share it with me. Not only this, B can also tell X, ki listen X, you have so much problems, no? You file a case and let the court decide who is the owner, you or A. Please don't involve me here. So in that case, he has a right to sue B. So see, he has a right to take action against third party who is stopping him from using the goods. And if third party deprives him from using, that means he is not allowing him to use, the bailee will get the same rights which the owner has, and whatever compensation is earned, it will be dealt with as per their respective interest, means it will be shared. Similarly, if a person other than bailer, that is X, claims the goods, he can apply to the court and stop the delivery, whatever. So B can tell X, don't tell me, let the court decide. Do not involve me. So duties of bailor, which are also rights of bailee. Now, what are the duties of bailee? The mechanic, he has to take care of the goods. But if something happens to my goods, it is not bailee's responsibility, it is bailor's responsibility, because I am the owner. You have studied ownership and risk go hand in hand. So it is the owner's responsibility. Okay. But 10 days I had given the car. In those 10 days something happens, then bailor's responsibility. After 10 days if something happens, the bailee's responsibility will start. So bailee is not responsible. It is his duty not to make unauthorized use, not to mix the goods, and return the goods once the purpose is over. And if he does not return, then bailee's responsibility will start. He can deliver the goods to any of the joint bailors. So there are 3 joint owners of cars, so you can deliver the car back to any of them. And whatever extra profit he is getting, he has to return it. For example, if I am giving my cow to B for few months, and if cow gives birth to calf, the B has to return the cow as well as the calf. That calf belongs to me. So return the accretions to the goods as well. By the way, as I told you about the mixing, I'm gonna just elaborate this part. It is the duty of the bailee not to mix the goods, that we saw. By chance, what will happen if he mixes the goods? If bailee mixes the goods, now you'll have to see. Either it is with the bailor's consent, or it is without bailor's consent. If it is with bailor's consent, so no problem, share the mixture. Simple. He is okay with it, so you share the mixture. If it is without bailor's consent, you will have to see whether the goods are separable or not. Goods are separable, then separate them. But then expenses will be borne by you, that is the bailee. Expenses of separation. The goods are inseparable, then the bailor can claim damages. So this is regarding mixture of goods. So these points which I told you, it's given here. Rights of bailor. This chart is this basically. These 3 points. Okay. And if he does something wrong, the contract is voidable at my option. So in this case, if he uses my car, the mechanic I told him to repair, but he uses my car for some other purpose. So I am the aggrieved party. I can either rescind the contract or affirm the contract, and I can claim my car back. So the contract is voidable. So these all were duties and rights of bailor and bailee. Termination of bailment is very simple. Finder of goods is very, very simple. Bacha, you have done some of this, yes, in foundation itself. So it is the duty of finder of goods to find the true owner and return the goods back. Duty to take care of the goods like he would have taken care of his own goods. Then duty not to mix the goods, duty not to use the goods, and so on. And what are his rights? He can claim the expenses whatever he has incurred from the owner. Then he can claim reward if any. Then he can keep the goods if the owner refuses to pay. That means he is having right of lien. And lastly, bacha, finder also has a right to sell the goods if the goods are perishable, or if the goods are non-perishable and the expenses incurred are more than or equal to 2/3 of the market value. Then he can sell. Or the owner is not found, or the owner is found but he refuses to pay for the expenses, then he can sell. So these were your duties and rights of bailor and bailee as well as finder of goods. Now, coming to your lien. Lien, you have studied this before, but your lien is nothing but right to retain the goods. So right of lien actually is of 2 types. First you have general lien, second you have particular lien. As the name suggests, bacha, general lien is only for general goods, general balance, whereas particular lien is on particular asset on which the money is not paid. Now example for each, few examples, and it will be very, very clear. Example, Let's say A is taking business loan from the bank, and the business loan which he takes is, let's say, 10 lakhs including interest. Okay, I don't want to confuse you. Now bank tells A, we don't trust you, you give us something as security. So A is giving his goods worth rupees 12 lakhs as security. Okay. Now A fails to repay the loan. So bank sold these goods. But unfortunately, when bank sold the goods, bank could recover only 8 lakhs. So there was some problem at that time, they got only 8 lakhs. So bank will let go 2 lakhs. Obviously no, na? Bank is not going to let go 2 lakhs. In fact, bank will be recovering money from A, but A is not paying, so bank will sell off some other asset of Mr. A. So that means, bacha, bank is having right of lien not only on these goods, but also on other assets of Mr. A. So this is general lien. But let me take another example. I told the mechanic I will repair, yes, I will give you the car, you repair it and I'll pay you 10,000. If I don't pay him 10,000, he can retain my car, but he cannot retain any other car belonging to me. That means he can retain only that car on which money is not given to him. So this is particular lien. Another example, if I am declared as insolvent, court is going to appoint one official receiver or official assignee who is going to sell off my assets and who is going to pay off my liabilities. So in that particular case, bacha, that official receiver is having right of lien on my general assets and not particular asset. So such right is general lien. Whereas if I am taking my ring to the jeweler and I tell him that there are 2-3 diamonds which are not proper, just fix them, and I promise to pay him 20,000 for that, and if I don't pay him 20,000, he will retain that ring till I pay him the money. Such right is particular lien. So general lien is of our general balance or general assets. Particular lien is for particular asset on which the money is not paid. Yes, banks, official receivers, official assignees can exercise, baileys can exercise particular lien, or even agents. But your agent is gonna sell the goods, he is gonna show some salesmanship, he's gonna sell the goods, and if I promise commission to him and if I don't pay commission, agent can always tell me that, ma'am, till you don't pay me commission, I will not give your goods to your customers. So he is having right to retain only those goods on which commission is not paid to him. That is particular lien. So for general lien, bacha, you need to expressly mention it in the agreement. See, bank cannot straight away come and sell your other assets in this example. Bank needs to write this in the loan agreement. So it should be mentioned in the agreement. But here, it is implied, it is automatic. Nothing to say here. It is understood if I don't pay money to that mechanic, he will not give me my car. Here, skill is not used on the assets. But here skill is normally used on the assets. See, bank is not going to work on my goods, or official receiver is not going to work on my goods. So no skill. But here bailey is going to work on my goods. Agent is going to show his salesmanship. That means they are doing something or the other with the goods. So here skill is used, here skill is not used. So this was my general and particular lien. And this was my bailment. So in your textbook, bacha, if you see, we have explained general lien with example, particular lien with example, and difference between both. Now, let's talk about a very small part, pledge. By the way, pledge is also known as pawn. So if I take an example, Ramesh went to a jeweler and Ramesh gave his gold chain as security, and jeweler is giving him loan of 50,000 rupees. Bacha, Ramesh is pledging this chain. Ramesh is known as a pledger. Jeweler is known as a pledgee. And Ramesh, in this case, is also known as a pawner, and jeweler is known as a pawnee. So what is pledge? Pledge is nothing but bailment of goods, where goods are delivered only for one purpose, that is security. But your bailment can happen for multiple purposes. Pledge can happen only for one purpose, that is security. Yes. So pledge is nothing but bailment of goods where they are given as security for payment of some debt or performance. Two parties, pledger, pledgee or pawnee, pawnee. Essentials, you have to deliver the goods, then only I can use the term you have pledged it. Delivery can be actual, symbolic, constructive, anything is okay. And only goods you can pledge. But when immovable assets are given as security, you don't use the term pledge, you use the term mortgage. So when I talk about pledge, it should be for movable goods. Purpose of pledge is only one, that is debt, that is security. And lastly, bacha, pledge is a species of bailment, means part of bailment. Now what are the rights of the pawner and what are the rights of the pawnee? Pawnee means the jeweler. Bacha, right of pawnee, that is jeweler, can keep the chain, retain the goods. Not only for this loan, but he can keep this chain even for the next loan. So if this loan is repaid, and now if Ramesh is taking a new loan of 60,000, he can keep the chain for that second loan also. So for subsequent debts, and was jeweler is keeping the chain with himself, right? So he has to maintain the chain properly. If he has incurred any expenses, he can claim it. And if this fellow Ramesh fails to repay the loan, then jeweler can either keep this chain or jeweler can sell the chain. Either keep or sell. You can't do both together obviously. But bacha, if jeweler chooses to keep the chain, so be it. If jeweler chooses to sell the chain, and unfortunately after selling the chain he could get only 40,000. So in that particular case, bacha, he can demand 10,000 damages. Let's say he got 55,000. Again, he can keep only 50, he has to return 5. So if the jeweler sells this chain and if any loss is there or if the amount is less, you can claim it, and if the amount is more, you have to return it. So that is your rights of pawnee. So retain or sell, and that is explained. Then rights of pawner, he can redeem, means he can get it adjusted, the loan. So if Ramesh is paying some amount of loan out of 50, so he paid 20,000. So Ramesh can tell the jeweler, please adjust 20,000 from this 50,000. So he can redeem it. Secondly, Ramesh can always tell the jeweler, jeweler, I need this chain for 2-3 days. Can you please give me the chain? I'll return it to you. So with jeweler's permission, he can ask for his chain back for some time. And lastly, only when he is having a limited interest, then pledge is valid only to the extent of that interest. So this was your rights of pledger and pledgee. Now, normally just as sale can be done only by the owner, even pledge can be done only by the owner. You have studied Nemo, that called non-habit. Only owner can pass on a good title to the next buyer, right? So in the same case here also, normally pledge will be done only by the owners. But there are some exceptional cases where pledge can be done by someone else. First is mercantile agent. So if instead of me, my agent is pledging the goods, it's allowed. But it should be normal course of business. So first is pledge by mercantile agent. Conditions are given. Second one, students get confused. Pledge by a person in possession under a voidable contract. Suppose A obtained a diamond ring from B by doing fraud. A did a fraud with B. That means the contract is voidable. So A got this ring under a voidable contract, right? Aggrieved party is B. B has two choices, either to rescind the contract or to affirm the contract. B is still thinking, what should I do? And in the meanwhile, A pledged this ring with Mansi, and Mansi takes it in good faith. Mansi will get good title. This is a valid pledge. So if pledge is done by a person who is in possession of goods under a voidable contract, the new person, the pledgee, if the pledgee takes it in good faith, it is a valid pledge. So here, voidable contract. The next one, pledge by co-owners. So let's say ABC jointly purchased a TV, but with B and C's permission, the TV is kept with A. Now, in absence of B and C, if A pledges it with X and X takes it in good faith, it is a valid pledge. So, B and C can recover money and damages from A, but this pledge is valid. So, this co-owner may make valid pledge. And we saw both bailment and pledge. Chalo, without seeing, you tell me the distinction between both. First, you will write the meaning of bailment as well as pledge. Second one, you can write that simple point. You have bailer, bailee. Here you have pledger, pledgee. Okay. Then that was a very simple point, bacha, but still. Next, bailment can be for multiple purposes. Pledge is only for one purpose, that is security. Then in bailment, it can be gratuitous also, non-gratuitous also. But pledge has to be for consideration. But in bailment, the bailee can only retain your goods but cannot sell. But in pledge, he can sell. So all these distinction between points are given in your textbook. Yeah.